Fed up of floor-robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers and welcome back to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host Heather Tingle. So today I want to talk about something that has popped up twice this week with two different clients. And when something comes up more than once, I always think, okay, this is clearly a thing for more people than just these clients. And that thing is consistency, or rather the pressure to be consistent in a way that does not fit with real life and our real brains. So I need to probably explain this a little bit better than what I'm doing. But it seems to be that the general advice is when you're decluttering is to get into a habit with it, to do it every day. It just doesn't work. So let me explain what happened this week with each client. So client one came to me, determined that she was going to move forward with her decluttering, get stuff sorted, make real big progress, making change and momentum. And because the whole world decides to tell us that the only way to move forward is to do something every day, she thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to declutter every day for an hour, 7 days a week. And then she thought about it a little bit more and realised that actually 7 days a week wasn't doable. I'm going to give myself some grace. I'm going to do 5 days a week. So that was in her head when she came to me. Thing is, she kind of thought that was the way to make progress, like little and often. An hour was a lot. So then she ended up going down to 30 minutes. But in my head, my brain straight away went to 30 minutes every single day for 5 days a week. That becomes a chore. That is hard work. That is not going to happen. Because the message we get over and over again is, do a little bit every day, do 15 minutes, do an hour, chip away daily at it, and chip away daily at it, and it will add up. And yeah, technically, of course, it adds up. But what they don't mention is what happens when you get to day 12 and you're absolutely knackered, you're wiped out, you're poorly, you're tired, you're bored of decluttering now, and your brain is screaming for something different. So day 13 doesn't happen, and then day 14 doesn't happen, and before you know it, the whole thing's fallen apart. So bit like when I had a diary as a kid. So I had a daily diary, and it only worked when I took the pressure off that I didn't have to do it every day. Because what happened at the beginning was, it was great for the first week, writing in my diary, dear diary, thinking I was Adrian Mole. If you're a person of a certain age, you will recognise that reference. Apologies if you don't. So the first week, great. Writing in dear diary, this is who I fancy this week. This is what happened with my teacher. This is the argument I had with my mum. All that stuff, brilliant. But then one night I forgot about it, forgot to write in it. And then because that streak had ended, that was it. Diary over, finished, done. I failed at it. I'm never going to do it again because I've now got a bit missing. And that's what happens with daily decluttering rules. They rely on perfection. Perfection never lasts. And they rely on that level of consistency to a commitment that is impossible to sustain. In all honesty, if you've got an ADHD brain, you have got no chance whatsoever. Now, my autistic brain thinks, wonderful, I could maybe do it for a set length of time. And yeah, I love that routine. But my ADHD brain goes straight into, I am bored now, this is a chore, I'm not going to carry on with this. So back to client. After she realised that an hour was too much, changing it to 30 minutes, that could work Monday to Friday. And then she came to me. I was like, this is not going to actually happen, because we chatted it through and I explained that probably was not going to work very well. Yes, it might work for a week, it might work for 2 weeks, but then after that, it's probably going to fizzle out. You're going to get very bored. You're going to get very stressed by it. And it becomes a commitment and a chore rather than a great thing to do for yourself. And it doesn't work with your energy. And it's not because she's doing anything wrong, not because it's really a bit more than if you lock something to specific days, you remove that flexibility. And if there's one thing decluttering needs, especially if you're neurodivergent, it's flexibility. So instead we changed it to aim to commit, not actually definitely commit, because if you're going to really aim for something, that feels like a positive. If you're committing to something, that just feels like you bricked it. That feels like a prison to me. Maybe it's my PDA part of my brain going, absolutely not going to do it because you're going to make me do it. But I think that we changed it. We changed it to 5 30-minute sessions across the week, because that wasn't then pinned to days. So it's not pinned to times, just 5 30-minute sessions whenever she has the capacity or the spark to do it. So if it feels good one day, she could do 2 sessions, she could do a whole hour. You might do 3. Get 3 sessions out of the way, brilliant. If she feels rubbish another day, she doesn't have to do any. It is okay, and it all still counts moving forward. And you can kind of see that relief, because it was like, yeah, I can commit to that. I'm not saying the word commit again, but I can do this, because it no longer felt like a chore. It no longer felt like a commitment she was going to fail at, and then it felt doable. And that's what you want. We want your decluttering efforts. We don't want them to collapse because you've had an off day, because your energy's low, because you've used all your spoons on something, because you're poorly, because life happened, because you had sudden commitment that came out of the blue. You don't want to get derailed by that stuff. You've got to work with it. So having that flexibility is so important. So we're not doing the childhood diary solution again. The whole point is to keep going in a way that works for your life, not one that crushes it or feels bad, really. And then I had another client today, and she was the reason why I decided to do this, was because she said, right, I'm going to do 15 minutes a day. And again, it was coming from this pressure to be consistent in the way we've been told, be consistent. That's how it should look. And when we looked at her week and her energy and everything else she's got going on, actually, that rule was not going to work. It was going to trip her up. It was setting her up to fail, in all honesty. So we said, okay, try doing 3 15-minute sessions a week instead, which was much more doable and much kinder. But I also asked, what's the motivation to do the decluttering? She's like, well, there isn't any, because there's nothing. We're at the point now where, and this happens with a lot of clients, you get to the point now where you've fought the fires. So nothing is a total disaster anymore. And trust me, if you're not at this point yet, you will get to it, and be ready for this when it happens. So congratulations if you're now at this point where all the stuff that was massively, massively impacting daily life had been sorted. So you might get to 90% of your clothes. You don't really want to do that extra 10% because most of it's done. It's a bit easier in the morning. You're not fighting with the wardrobe anymore. Then you've got no motivation to do it. So we looked at what else she got going on in her life. And what made it work for her was building in that dopamine hit. So she's got really exciting things happening that she wants to do. So we paired a task. So 15 minutes of decluttering and then 15 minutes of the fun thing that she wanted to do. Now, this again, it's a short-term thing. It probably won't last with this, because your brain will go, why don't I just do the fun thing and not have to do the boring decluttering thing? But hopefully by doing the fun stuff as a reward, the 15 minutes decluttering feels doable. It's only 3 times a week. You can choose what days you want to do. You could do it all in one day. You could do it across 3 different days. Totally fine. And it's flexible again. But that pairing of do the thing that you've got to do and then pair it with something that you want to do afterwards, because it's a short amount of time, it felt like it was doable. If it was going to be like an hour of decluttering and then an hour of the fun stuff, the hour of decluttering was never going to happen. You were just going to feel bad for an hour and then end up doing the fun stuff and then feel bad about it. So we did it in really short 15-minute bursts that feel good, and looked at very specific things. So she got the plan ready to go. So there was no having to think about it first. We've got that plan ready to go. And that is really important, because we looked at what tasks would feel good and tried to have a really good mix of fun, easy win decluttering and slightly harder decluttering, just like one of those 3 sessions in the week. Because it's got to feel good, because another important thing to let you know is not all decluttering feels the same. Not all tasks feel the same. So some types of decluttering will give you energy. They feel satisfying. You feel energized by the end of it. You feel clearer. It feels good. And there is some that will absolutely drain you. And it's just something you've just got to get through. So what gives you energy or drains your energy will change. And that depends on the type of decluttering and how your brain works and what is fun for you, what makes you feel satisfied when you get something done. And it also may depend on what else you've got going on in your life right now and how well your brain is braining that day. So for me, when I'm working on myself, on my own decluttering, clothing was great. It felt really good and energetic. It felt fabulous. paperwork was soul destroying, and it took me forever to do. But there were only certain parts of that paperwork that was soul destroying that took ages and felt like I was never going to get through. There was some in that which was actually quite easy wins and felt really good doing, because it was a lot of, yeah, that can go, yeah, that can go, yeah, that can go. And there was other stuff that was harder that I'd really got to think about. So within the type of task, that also will change how your energy is as well. So try not to lock yourself into that, I'm going to be consistent with this and do it every single day. Because if you wake up already exhausted from life, that 30-minute wardrobe session is absolutely going to flatter you, and you're just going to get annoyed that none of your jeans fit, everything makes you look fat, or you hate it, or you look skinny, or it don't go with anything. It's going to make you feel rubbish. Don't want that. But a 5-minute tidy of a drawer might actually feel soothing. Or the other way around, it might change. And that is totally normal. You just got to work with it. So all this comes back to one point. Consistency that is flexible. Consistency that can bend. Consistency that supports you instead of becoming another chore that you're going to fail at. Daily habits can absolutely work for some people. Don't know many of them, if I'm honest. But for a lot of us, especially if you're neurodivergent, daily habits become chores and commitments, and they become prisons that we just want to break out of and never look back. So if something starts to feel like a chore, your brain is out. It is gone. No amount of forcing is going to bring it back. So we look at it differently. A weekly total or a monthly total or a project total, not a daily consistent demand. Because tasks need to match your energy, not a task that dictate it. And a lot of permission for life to happen without everything falling apart. Because at the minute, we're getting to the Christmas season, busy season. It is okay if your decluttering efforts are less, especially when there is lots of bugs going about, like cold and flu and COVID and all that stuff. So, be kind to yourself. I really do think that hopefully has given you permission to think about things a little differently. So until next time, remember you're not alone. Be kind to yourself and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour, hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.